hip hop was meant to be somewhat lo-fi. So anytime there was an attempt to connect hip hop with a guy who was super technical, there were problems. So this will be one of those episodes where there's like a little bit of like a me going to the Wayback Machine and talking about stuff that I did a long time ago, and now it's literally, I guess it's about 25 years old. And if you would have told me or anyone on that session at the time that Lil Kim's Crush on You was going to be a classic, we would have thought you were nuts. There were a couple of moments where during the making of the record, I thought, maybe this is a little bigger than I think. One of the moments was I was in a record store, CD store on the Upper East Side, HMV, and they had a coming soon blackboard behind the counter. And I remember walking by it one day while we were still working on the entire album, and it said coming soon, Lil Kim. I don't even know if it said Lil Kim Hardcore yet, but it said like coming soon, Lil Kim October something or whatever. And the two guys behind the counter who worked there were actually talking about Lil Kim's record coming. And I thought to myself, like, are you kidding me? Like these guys are into this? People are waiting for this? I had no idea. I'm going to talk about that track. One of the things that I remember and I kind of relate to now, especially for new artists and people trying to make records right now. Hip hop was in the 90s. We were like the, what's the old saying? The redheaded stepchild. Like no one wanted to deal with hip hop at that time in the recording studios and even in the label, at the label level. Like the labels would literally let hip hop projects just develop on their own in the studio, and there would be a certain guys, A&R guys, who would like just bring the records to the execs, and they would go through it because those execs wanted no part of being on a hip hop session for whatever reason. Probably your basic cultural differences and not understanding the culture itself. Controversial, I don't know, but so there's a little interesting thing to me that, with regards to those sessions. There were a lot of guys on the engineering side who didn't want to do hip hop sessions. They wanted classic rock and pop. A lot of guys didn't want to do hip hop, particularly like the veterans of recording and mixing. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to do the Paul Simons, the David Bowies, the Joan Jetts, the Mariah Careys, things like that, because that wasn't hip hop. So there were several guys, including myself, who had no problem with it. In fact, I was interested in that because it was a new thing. It was, hip hop had started in the late 70s and, went through the 80s, but not at the national level and not in high-end recording studios like the Hit Factory. So when that stuff started coming through, I was into it, and I liked early like Ghetto Boys and Ice-T when he was a rapper and things of that nature. To me, there's a reason why hip-hop sounds the way it does, aside from the fact that it was made the way it was made, which was using samples from vinyl into low-bit drum machines and then recorded to analog tape and then mixed to analog tape also. I think there's another reason slightly, and this is where I can get into some probably areas where some guys will disagree with me, but even for myself, I was just above the talent level. If I could, I don't want to say that. How do I describe it? I was new to the recording and mixing world at a national level, at a commercial level. Hip hop was really new, so I was just ahead of them. Let's just say a lot of the guys that were taking those sessions were just above, just ahead of a few steps of the actual project. If hip hop had been paired up with engineers and mixers that were veterans, there was a clash. Anytime someone even tried to do that, there was a clash, because the veteran music industry guy on the technical side was trying to get them to clean things up and like clean up the recordings and clean up the samples and make cleaner, shinier sounding tracks, which was completely anti-hip-hop, if you could term it any other way. I don't know how to put it to you. That it was, hip-hop was meant to be somewhat lo-fi. So anytime there was an attempt to connect hip-hop with a guy who was super technical, there were problems. And there was like basically a clash of opinions and a clash of, the vision was different. To my point on this, if you're a new artist, I think there's probably some value in working with people that are sort of just above your talent level, like just next level up on the layer cake. Because if you go to work with someone that's too far up on the layer cake, you're going to have a mismatch. They're going to be not relating to where you're at. Now, there's clearly going to be some guys out there and girls that are capable of doing all kinds of projects, but it's something to keep in mind. I think it's a reason why the transcendent projects tend to be somewhat close together in talent level all across the team. There's one thing that I found interesting today as I popped on, someone turned me on to a Rick Beato video that I found to be really good. It was something, you want to look it up. It's about the BS meter. There's something along those lines. And I agree with almost everything that's in the video. He talks about how artists need a bullshit meter so that they could actually figure out who's sort of just gassing them up, which happens as things go along. People want to just keep getting paid, so they just say yes and tell the artist, yeah, that's great, that every idea is awesome, I can't believe those lyrics, those are the best lyrics I've ever heard. Meanwhile, they're not. So I'm recommending a Rick Beato video. One thing I didn't realize was that Cameron wrote some lyrics on Crush on You, which I went on to do his first album, and I'll definitely be doing a piece on or two on the Cameron project, because that was a crazy fun time and really good record, the Confessions of Fire. Lil Kim was hardcore, and the song was Crush on You. I know that Biggie wrote the hook. I know that there's like all kinds of speculation out there as to like whether Biggie wrote her lyrics, whether he didn't. I know that he wrote the hook, and I recorded him doing the hook. I recorded this whole track. Fnatic was the producer. We did it at the Hit Factory, and of all places, Studio One at the Hit Factory, which was this super expensive room that was actually built for doing Broadway stuff and movie scores, full orchestras, because the room was like 75 by 75 with 30-foot ceilings. It was the absolute jewel of the recording business. If it still existed today, it would still be the jewel of the recording business. I mean, it was the Taj Mahal. Many people called it that. It was like you're going up to the 6th floor and you're going where, you're going to that rarefied air, that rarefied atmosphere. So Fnatic did the track. It was interesting. Back then, this was only a 24-track session. So it was on analog tape, one reel. I'm 99% sure I didn't have to use 48 track on this. I mean, I don't see any reason why I would have. But anyway, the way hip hop tracks were built back then was the producer would build the track in an MPC or an SP1200, and I don't remember if this was an MPC. It probably was. but it sounds to me like an 8-bar loop. So what we would do is we would record the 8-bar loop all the way down for like 5 minutes on tape with separate tracks. The loop would play continuously with the beat. So in this case, it was like this and there would be like a little drum fill. That's on the bar 8. So the way the song got built was you would cut vocals to that, usually in that state. And then once the vocals were done, we would turn on the automation on the console and program all the drops. So with mutes on the console. So there was no, obviously we didn't have digital audio workstations, so we weren't able to chop out things or anything like that. So everything was done with automation. So any of those drops, if any of you go back and listen to the like Little C's verse, I did all those drops where like it goes dennit, and then it's just drums, and then dennit, and then it's just drums, and then dennit, it's just drums. Those were all mutes because that keyboard part would continue, and the keyboard part was a sample, I'm 99% sure. It was an interesting session in that, as I said before, the label was never there, meaning I think she was on Atlantic. So the execs that were in the room were, and this was every night of every session with Lil Kim. Biggie was there, Notorious B.I.G. for those of you. Lance Rivera. He was Biggie's partner on DS Entertainment. Kim was there 90% of the time. C's was always there. Jacob York was always there. They were the gatekeepers. They would, particularly Big and were very hands-on with producing the vocals. In this case, Fnatic did the beat. They were on their own with Kim to do the vocals and with Little C's. Like I said, there was an isolation. We were alone working on these records and just building something that the label trusted Biggie and that they were going to bring them this product that was going to go to number 2 on the Pop 100 charts, which it actually did. It entered at number 2. I still can't wrap my head around it. One of the things that this video has brought up, which I've been thinking about doing and will be somewhere down the line on some of my like thoughts on mixing, is the question, does a mix matter? Or what is it that is the most important thing about a hit record? And we're talking about trying to have something that breaks through. What's your recommendations on kombucha? I need a good brand. So if someone wants to put one in the comments or something like that, and I would be remiss not to thank, I just want to thank all the new subscribers and the new people watching and viewing and all that. It's flattering, to say the least, and I'm into it. This is one of my motivational things here. You're born, you take shit. You get out in the world, you take more shit. You climb a little higher, you take less shit. Till the one day, you're up in the rarefied atmosphere and you've forgotten what shit even looks like.